I work overnights at a small hotel, the kind of place that mostly gets business travelers and the occasional sketchy guest. Most of the time, it's uneventful. But about 2 months ago, something happened that still messes with my head. It was around 3 a.m., the dead zone of my shift. I had just finished balancing the books when I heard a soft knock. I looked up at the lobby doors. Nobody was there. Then I heard it again. Not from the lobby, from inside the hotel. I stood up and peered down the long hallway leading to the guest rooms. The halls were empty. Everyone was asleep. Then, knock, knock. It was coming from the office door behind the front desk. That made no sense. I was the only one working. The office was locked from the inside. I turned, my pulse racing, and stared at the door. "Hello?" I called out, trying to keep my voice steady. No answer. I grabbed my walkie and called security, but there was no response. Then, the doorknob rattled. I took a step back, my throat dry. My mind was racing with every possible explanation. Maybe it was my manager. Maybe someone got locked in earlier. Maybe Dash. Click. The doorknob twisted, slowly, deliberately. I grabbed the nearest heavy object, a stapler, because apparently I thought that would help. Then, silence. I stood there for what felt like forever, staring at the door. It didn't move again. Finally, after a few deep breaths, I reached for my keys, unlocked the door, and swung it open. The room was empty. I flicked on the light, my hands shaking. The only way in or out was the door I had just unlocked. There were no vents, no windows. No one was in there, but the office chair was spinning. I quit 2 weeks later. Working the night shift at a gas station isn't the most exciting job, but for the most part, it's quiet. Too quiet sometimes. I've been working here for about a year, and nothing much happens aside from the occasional drunk customer or weird late-night regulars. But last month, I had the worst shift of my life. It was around 2:30 a.m., the time when things are dead silent. No cars, no customers, just me and the sound of the refrigerators humming. I was in the back, restocking drinks, when I heard the automatic doors slide open. Finally, I thought, someone to break the boredom. I walked out to the counter, but the store was empty. I glanced outside through the glass doors. The parking lot was completely deserted. I shook it off. Faulty sensor, maybe, but something about it bothered me. About 10 minutes later, I stepped outside to take a smoke break. That's when I saw him. A man standing at the far end of the parking lot. Not near a car, not walking toward the store, just standing there, facing me. I stared for a second, feeling my skin crawl. "Can I help you?" I called out. No response. He didn't move. I flicked my cigarette and went back inside, locking the doors behind me. I watched him from behind the counter. He hadn't moved an inch, just standing there, staring at the store. 15 minutes passed, then 30. I tried to convince myself he was just some drunk guy waiting for a ride. But something felt wrong. Then, the power flickered. The lights dimmed for half a second before coming back. My stomach knotted. I looked outside again. The man was closer, now standing right at the edge of the parking lot. I grabbed my phone and called the non-emergency police line. Told them some weird guy was hanging around the store and making me uncomfortable. As soon as I hung up, the power flickered again. Then the lights at the far end of the store went out. The security cameras. I stepped back, my heart hammering. Then, as I looked back toward the doors, he was gone. Not walking away, not running, just gone. I locked myself in the back office and waited for the cops. By the time they arrived, he was nowhere to be found. They checked the lot, the back alley, even the security footage. The only thing the cameras caught was me stepping out for my break. No man in the parking lot. No one outside the doors. Just me. I took a few days off after that. But now, I never step outside alone at night, just in case. I work the night shift at a 24-hour convenience store in a small town. Usually the only people who come in after midnight are truckers, cops, and the occasional drunk guy looking for snacks. But one night, I had an encounter that I still can't explain. It was around 3 a.m., and the store was completely empty. I was behind the counter, scrolling on my phone when the automatic doors slid open. I looked up. A woman walked in. She was dressed strangely, like she had just come from a funeral. A long black dress, lace gloves, and a veil covering her face. She didn't go to the drinks or the snacks. She just walked straight down the first aisle, moving slowly, almost like she was floating. I cleared my throat. "Evening, ma'am. Let me know if you need anything." She didn't respond. I watched as she drifted down the aisle, stopping at random shelves but never picking anything up. Something about the way she moved bothered me. After a minute, I leaned over the counter to get a better look. And that's when I noticed that her feet weren't making a sound. No footsteps, no rustling of fabric, just silence. A cold chill ran down my spine. I pulled up the security camera feed, zooming in on aisle 1. And that's when my stomach dropped. The aisle was empty. The cameras weren't picking her up. I looked back at the aisle. She was still there. But the screen showed nothing. I slammed the monitor off and turned back to the counter, my hands shaking. That's when she finally spoke. In a voice barely above a whisper, she asked, "Do you have matches?" I nodded slowly, reaching for a pack behind the counter. "Yeah. Just these." She drifted toward the register, gliding across the floor. She reached out, and for the first time, I saw her hands. Ice cold, bone white. Her fingers, too long. I dropped the matches. She looked up at me. And I swear to God, there was nothing under the veil. Just darkness. I stumbled back. My breath caught in my throat. She tilted her head slightly, then whispered, "You should lock your doors. He's coming." And just like that, she turned and walked out. The doors never opened. She was just gone. I locked up early that night. I don't know who she was or what she meant. But I haven't worked a night shift alone ever since.